Welcome into Crown Corner for the 29th day of June 2022. Will Pelagic, Jessica Charman here with you. A little shorter episode today for us because game is tomorrow. After all, we've got Charlotte FC and Austin FC coming up tomorrow. Our coverage on WFNZ gets underway at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock first kick. I know last weekend just was disappointing, but glad that it's a new week, and hopefully we get some guys back off those health and safety protocols.
Yeah, well, I think everyone's watching social media is like a hawk, hoping to see plenty of familiar faces at training, at practice, getting in the roster. Because listen, the guys did themselves proud. I'm very impressed with the way that players stepped up, making their debut. We got to see some versatility of other players. But of course, when you don't have your full strength squad, it's always going to be difficult. So effort, A+, execution, not quite an A+.
Yeah, Christian Lattanzio wouldn't give up the ghost about where exactly his players are in terms of guys being ramped up, but he did say that there were a lot of guys back in his media comments on Tuesday afternoon. One of the guys who had to step in for the Charlotte FC side as part of the reinforcements for the guys out with health and safety protocols is a guy that we've been really itching to talk to and get an opportunity to speak to. That's Koa Santos. Here's an opportunity that we had earlier this week to catch up with the native of Hawaii from Charlotte FC. It's Crown Corner for the week of June the 29th, getting you ready for Austin FC on Thursday. But let's take a look back at what we saw this past weekend with a friend of the program and a friend of us, Koa Santos, who really made his MLS debut on Saturday, but I think really leapt into the hearts of Charlotte FC fans everywhere with the game that he played on Saturday. He was everywhere. Koa, Will, and Jess, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
What's up, guys?
So in terms of what you were asked to do on Saturday, it seemed like you were in one space, but it really seemed like you were everywhere on the pitch. Give us a sense of what Christian Lattanzio wanted from you in the match on Saturday.
Yeah, so basically, as you just said, to go out there with, they had full confidence in me to, play out of position and as a winger and, yeah, just defensively be sound. We really wanted to introduce us today, our press. We want to press more than we have before and really push teams back. So he obviously emphasized that, and then just to really give us width and legs on the wing was his emphasis towards me, and he had full confidence that I could do so. And yeah, with the performance, I just wish I offered more going forward, but I think defensively, I gave the team what we needed.
And obviously, Koa, you mentioned playing out of position more. Normally, you would see yourself in a defensive position. What do you feel like your strengths are when you're playing in that fullback position that you're more used to seeing?
I just think, my back's not towards, I guess, the game. I'm, seeing forward, and I'm able, to go up and down the wing. But I guess, yeah, it was just I haven't been in some unfamiliar positions, since last time I played winger was probably like sophomore in college. No excuse for sure, but it was definitely wish I was a little more prepared in that sense, being that I trained at right back all week. And then, yeah.
At what point did you, I guess, was it like right before the game where he said, hey, I want you to play winger? What was that process like?
We ended up getting Jay back from his COVID. So inserted him back into the starting lineup. He's been great for us at right back. And yeah, so I got pushed, I guess, up a position. And yeah, I'm no complaints at all, to make your MLS debut and, for that dream to become a reality. You're not going to ask too many questions, but yeah, I just feel like I could have made more of a mark in the game.
So you didn't go back up to Christian and be like, are you sure? Is it me, right?
Absolutely not. And I think we both thought like I could have got the job done. And yeah, like I said, I just wish I could have offered more. And excited.
Let's touch on that, Koa. I think one of the really cool things is when you were signed, obviously, you maybe weren't expecting to play necessarily this season. How cool was it to make your MLS debut in your first season with Charlotte FC after being drafted?
Yeah, I mean, it was, just walking on the field before the game, it definitely was humbling experience, like look back and see how far, you've come. And as much as you want, the next one, to improve and, get that next start or get that next, call up. It was nice to, sit back and just kind of take in the moment and be proud, I think, especially for the people of Hawaii and like where I come from, this is unheard of, and so for that I was proud. But again, in terms of performance, I wish I could have done a little bit more.
I know Jess wants to ask about your Hawaiian heritage, so I'll leave that one on her. But I do also want to ask you about kind of where your game has come from since you were an Aztec and now obviously getting into this level. I know you've spent some time with Independence. Where do you think the greatest stride in your game has come?
In terms of what, Will? Sorry, I didn't.
Just, what do you think your game, at least from a developmental standpoint, what has gotten better with your game since maybe you when you were in college? Is it a speed thing or getting used to the speed of the play or tactics? What do you think your game has gone from when you were in college to now that you're here as a professional?
I think, just ability to like understand tactically what a coach wants them to go out and execute it. I think is been a big improvement of mine. I think, like you said, the speed of play is a lot different. I think it's took me a little while to get adjusted, but those games with Independence have helped, just in terms of confidence, even though it is, a lower level, it does give you that confidence. You're playing 90 minutes every weekend versus, just training and then sitting in the bench or whether that's in the suite, regardless, it's a game on the weekend. And I really believe that you need games to develop. But I think my best stride was, I think I played 3 90-minute games for the Independence and then got the start at left back before Richmond in the Open Cup. And I think that was my most confident month. I'm just, again, looking to improve every day and be ready when my name gets called for the next chance.
And one thing that you definitely always have ready is your fitness. I know that we heard down the grapevine that you were winning the fitness test in Charlotte FC. Is that something that's always been a strength of yours, that fitness, that testing ability, or is that something that you've worked hard on to be able to achieve at the professional level?
I mean, I just knew coming in, the MLS, and when you take a jump in game, it requires a whole new level of fitness, and I pride myself on that, I guess you would say. I think it's come easy my whole life, just being up and down the wing and growing up in a high elevation has helped, I guess you could say, maybe. But yeah, I've just always prided myself on, being the most fit on the team and just outworking and outcompeting my opponents, I guess you could say.
We talk a lot about, how the difficulties of building a roster for an expansion team and having to go through what you guys went through as a roster is hard on any team, but even harder when you don't have, a reserve squad or an MLS Next squad to talk about and bring up for a situation like what happened over the weekend. But in terms of what you, Quinn, and George can offer, guys who did not feature in any game earlier in this season, at least in MLS play, what did it mean to not only you three guys to not only make your debuts, but do so in a level where you feel like you at least made sure that there was no step down in productivity based on the way that you guys played on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, there is no, MLS Next teams, but I mean, we've been working so hard, since January, since we stepped foot here in Charlotte, and yeah, for that moment to arise was, definitely came with some stipulations. Obviously, COVID is always a possibility in this day and age, and we're just ready when our name's called, and that's how you got to treat it every day. And I just wish I guess I was in my proper spot, to showcase my talent properly. But like I said earlier, there's no complaints and there's no excuse that when your name's called, and you got to perform. So, yeah, I stand by that.
Now, Will alluded earlier to the fact that obviously you're from Hawaii. I did a little bit of research beforehand because I didn't want to be off the cuff. Soccer's not one of the most popular sports in Hawaii, obviously. How did you fall in love with the beautiful game? And how do you feel like your presence in MLS at the highest level in America is going to influence younger people to follow in your footsteps in your homeland?
Yeah. A lot of my friends growing up, are surfing. I think surfing's the number one sport in Hawaii for sure.
It is.
And then second's probably baseball. But I fell in love with my best friend. Kicked me a ball, I think, in kindergarten or first grade. And, yeah, I just ran with it. And then my mom remarried, and we lived in a house right behind a huge soccer complex. And so, yeah, I would just, go down there and spend a lot of time there as a kid and really fell in love with it. Had a few coaches come through Hawaii, fortunately, on vacations. And one ended up staying. His name was Vince Laporta, and him and I just really worked at it, for years. And yeah, I think going forward, there hasn't been a lot of guys from Hawaii other than like Brian Ching, and Shandon Hopeau, and Bobby Wood. So I think, seeing another Hawaiian in the MLS is definitely inspiring to the youth of Hawaii. And the game is growing in that state, and I'm super proud to see where it is now versus when I was, 13, 14, 15. There's a lot more resources and such, but yeah, no, it's really cool to see, and it's yeah, I'm here to inspire the youth of Hawaii, and it's part of my why I play, I guess you can say, is for the state of Hawaii to represent.
That's brilliant. Okay, another sports question. I've seen on Instagram that you're a golfer as well. Who is the best golfer on the team? Who threatens you when you're at the golf course with the boys?
So for the first couple of months, I'd say I'd run away with first place pretty much 95% of the time. 2 weeks ago, Brant got me in a round, and then the last two rounds, Quinn actually has beaten me, but we're going today actually right after we're done here, and yeah, I'll let you know who ends up taking it today. But yeah, it's been a good out. I guess I used to go in the water for a surf when I needed a little not break, but I guess calming after training, just to get the mind off. And now I guess golf has been that exit of mine. So, yeah.
You mentioned the baseball heritage of Hawaii. I think of guys like Sid Fernandez, Kaneko Teixeira, Kila Kaiue. I mean, those are names that I think people, at least from a standpoint of Hawaii, know all about. But, you mentioned Ching earlier from the soccer perspective. Who are some of those kind of role models for you outside of maybe some of those guys you mentioned who, even if it's not just a soccer player, but from an athletic standpoint, to make it to mainland USA and make it on the big stage?
Yeah, for sure. Brian Ching was definitely a big one. I mean, he went and scored a bunch of goals for the Dynamo. That was when I first started watching MLS. He was the reason why I started watching MLS. But other than that, there hasn't been many, I guess, role models, to follow closely. Shandon Hopeau kind of climbed the ranks through Sanders, and that was cool to see because he was similar to my age, and he decided not to go the college route and just rise up through the academy, which was cool to see. But that's what's cool about this whole experience. I'm kind of I guess part of the groundkeeping of soccer in Hawaii and making it to the highest level. And yeah, I hope to continue to perform and inspire.
And last one for me, obviously you said that you missed the water, you missed getting in for a surf. If you could bring one thing from Hawaii back with you to Charlotte, obviously you love Charlotte, but you probably miss home, what would it be? What would you bring back from Hawaii?
Well, if you asked me in January, I'd say the warmth, but it's pretty. The weather's pretty nice now. But I'd probably say the food. Mom's cooking and fresh fish and yeah, poke bowls. You can name it. I can go on forever. But that and the ocean is yeah, the two things I miss most. I'd say.
How is your surfing, Koa?
Who knows? I mean, I haven't been in the water in 6 months, but yeah, I'd say we'll see when I go back home in the off season.
Be careful.
I was about to say I see a YouTube video brewing of Koa teaching us how to surf because that'd be very, very bad if it was me because I am very, very uncoordinated. But you are very, very much a welcome part of this club. Please don't get down on yourself with the way you played on Saturday because I think both Jess and I were not only very complimentary of you on Saturday, but also here in this space as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Continued success, and we hope to see you back on the pitch soon.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Will. Appreciate you having me.
Make sure you beat Brant this time.
Will do.
So very cool to speak to Koa Santos. I felt bad because he was kind of trying to say he didn't go a lot forward. I thought he was actually very, very good in that contest, Jess.
I think he was probably frustrated with himself just because he was playing out of position. He's clearly hard on himself, which professional soccer players need to be. I'm glad that he holds himself accountable and to a high standard. And that's the sort of behavior that wins yourself fans. That's the sort of behavior that gets the crowd behind you because they know how much you care about putting in a performance. Like you say, Will, he was one of our most active players in that time that he spent on the pitch. They were looking for him constantly on that right wing. And I thought he did a very good job of adjusting and he was playing out of position. So the future is definitely bright for Koa Santos. Obviously prefers to play in that fullback position. And I don't think it'll be the last of him we see in MLS this season.
Certainly a hodgepodge of games upcoming for Charlotte FC. They play tomorrow night, taking on Austin FC. We'll have our coverage again at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock first kick. We expect to see you all up there at Bank of America Stadium. CharlotteFootballClub.com/tickets. It's how you get yourself in the building. Then they'll play Sunday against the Houston Dynamo before turning around for another set of contests on next weekend. And very much looking forward to the Americana night that takes place a week from Saturday with fireworks. It's a real critical stretch of games for Charlotte FC, just because I feel like these are the games that might get you in the playoffs or possibly keep you on the outside looking in.
Listen, as other teams catch up with their game in hand, we're suddenly starting to drop down that table, looking, behind us instead of in front of us. So we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of grinding to put in. And look, if the results go our favor, if we can play the way that we know we can, we'll see ourselves climbing. But if not, like you say, it could be a very ungracious descent.
We'll see what we look like tomorrow against a very, very good Austin side. The expansion team from a year ago takes on the expansion team from this year. We'll talk to you on the broadcast coming up tomorrow at 6:30, not only on WFNZ and the Charlotte FC Radio Network. For Jess, Matt, I'm Will. We'll talk to you on Thursday evening.